This is going to strike right at Jenn Hobby here, the whole smoking thing.
Yeah, I haven't been able to stop smoking. Well, I stopped for like 4 years, something like that. And then in the last 2 years, picked it up again. And
Were there physical differences that you noticed in the 4 years?
I don't remember. I don't know.
This is, you know what? Listening to Jenn is like
I'm just exhausted by it.
She's such a good example of how smokers act about smoking. Is that it's a constant fight. They go through this love-hate relationship. I'm watching my wife go through it also.
Yeah.
And then at one point, they really shut down. Like, you can't ask them questions about it because they're just over themselves.
Yeah, I think so.
She's over herself.
Yeah, I think you get to that point. And some days I have really good days, and then other days I am, super stressed out. I'll notice it, like, for girls, like, depending on where you are throughout the month, there's certain times where you want to, where I'll want to smoke more or I'll be stressed out or whatever it is that I'll lean on it more. And then there's other times where I do it less. So, and I felt like I was pretty good over the holidays. I was with my family and I don't smoke in front of my family. I'm dating now. I'm not smoking on dates, that kind of thing. So I feel like I'm doing it less and it's becoming easier to do it less often. But still, there are those times when I'm like having coffee or driving in the car, whatever those things you associate it with, that I haven't been able to stop. And I haven't really, if I'm being honest with myself, I haven't completely wrapped my brain around doing it. About quitting.
Now, my wife and I are going through the same thing right now, but she gets very passionate about things and very defiant. Like, that's it. I am done smoking. And then 3 weeks later, she starts smoking again. And then she's defiant about it. That's it. I hate cigarettes. I hate the way they smell. I'm so over it. I'm done. And then 4 weeks later, she's smoking again. So she came to bed last night and she's like, "Did you notice anything different today?" And I said, I looked at the hair, looked at the nails.
So you're like, "Oh God, loaded question.
I'm like, "No, I got nothing, darling." And she's like, "Well, I haven't had a cigarette all day today." Which she doesn't smoke in front of me anyway, but I can always smell it. So I said to her last night, and in a serious way, I'm like, "Baby, I don't know how to support you in this whole thing. Like, do you want me to be excited for you? Do you want me to be real with you and say that I've heard that before? I mean, I don't know exactly how to react to this anymore." She's like, "You don't have to react at all. I'm just telling you."
That's cool.
That's cool.
Because I've heard the fight so many times.
Yeah.
But this is the same thing that smokers go through all the time, this love-hate relationship. So we were initially going to send Jenn up with Sean Wheeler here to go get hypnotized, but it just hadn't happened yet.
We do have an appointment finally. We figured out our schedules and our calendar, and it's my fault because Sean would write me back via email and say, "Well, are you available this day?" And then I would just kind of stall. I don't know why.
Did you confirm the appointment once Tracy told you he'd be sitting 4 feet from you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That's exactly when I did it.
That's usually how it works.
You may be able to come in here every other week for the rest of the year, depending on how Jenn's appointment.
Well, when it first happened, I knew when I was first on the show back in November, I knew not to harass you because it's not going to do me any good for someone to come in when they're not ready to quit.
Right.
So I would even say, if you're not ready in a couple of weeks when we made our appointment, reschedule. I don't care. Come in when you're ready, and it'll be the most effective.
When is your appointment for?
The 20th, I think.
The 20th, yeah.
Yeah, the 20th.
So you must really be jammed 24/7 between now and then.
He is.
I actually am.
Okay.
I bet this is the time of year.
This is the time when everyone jumps on the bandwagon and decides to quit smoking, to lose weight, to do all these things, and I'm the one they call.
Sean is a hypnotist, and I think that people are going to dismiss it partially because of your own fault. I think that people see it in stand-up comedy, and for some reason I think that sort of discredits what hypnosis is all about.
Absolutely. And I say that, I do the hypnosis shows. When I do the shows, I tell people what it is and what it's not. I tell them it's cooperation and not control. I explain it, but a lot of hypnotists don't. They're going for, I want to look like a magician, I want to look all powerful, so they leave that part out, thinking everyone's going to be even more impressed, and that does damage to it. And then, of course, you got the movies where people are always hypnotized into having supernatural abilities and just seeing into the past and the future and, all that kind of stuff. So that really does hamstring it.
How did you learn how to do it?
Went to school for it.
Really?
And I didn't go to college for it. I went to college for broadcast journalism, coincidentally. Here I am at a radio station. Yeah, but I went to school for broadcast journalism. Yeah. Well, that's what I thought, but actually it's turned out to be a plus. I use it in a lot of different ways. But anyway, after I was working with CNN for a number of years, I felt a little bit dissatisfied with that. I tried the hypnosis out. It was helpful. And when I had a chance, I went back to school for it. Studied it, 250 hours of training, working with people. And when you're doing the training, you're working with each other in the class. You're working with clients outside of class for credit. By the time you graduate, you've actually worked with people for over 50 hours. So you don't just walk out, clueless, having your first client. And I've been doing this for over 6 years, so I've had, almost 700 clients now that I've been working with.
And I was on the website a lot, just reading about all the different testimonials and the people that it's really worked for and that kind of thing. And you do it for smoking, weight loss,
fears and phobias. Those are the main ones. Stress management is something that comes into play for everyone. But yeah, I've had some really cool fears and phobias that I've cured. I've had some really weird kind of things that have happened. A woman who was afraid of cats, and it lasted for over 30 years, and I cured it in one session.
Really?
And I knew this because I have 2 cats. And I was able to immediately after the session have her hold them, which is like, I don't have an airplane parked out in my backyard. So when I work with someone on a fear of flying, I can't just board them on the plane right away. But with the cats, it was like, it was right there. She was holding them and it was like done.
Wow.
Is it the kind of thing that if I ask how hypnosis works in the brain, if somebody hears that, then it won't take as well as if they just go in?
The conscious knowledge of how it works doesn't interrupt the process of it working. So, the one thing that's different from what people expect is that you actually know exactly what's happening when you're hypnotized. Now, you said last time we were here that you were on the stage and you were doing that, and you knew what you were doing, but you just chose to do it.
It just seemed like so much fun that I decided to cluck like a chicken, right?
Right. Well, I mean, if you feel comfortable, why not? And the thing in therapy is it works the same way, meaning that your purpose is different for being there. But because you know what's happening, you know whether you're going to respond to this suggestion or that suggestion. So Jenn's going to know what's happening when she's hypnotized. She's going to know what I'm saying, and really what I'm saying is not going to be anything new to her. But because you're in a suggestive state, if it's something you want to do, it seems like a more appealing idea and something that you're more likely to do.
Okay. Is there anything I need to do to prepare for it?
Yeah, well, the only thing that you have to do to prepare, number one is you got to make up your mind to quit. And the thing that you've been sort of hedging and hawing about, I'm not sure if I want to, make up your mind to quit. And the other thing is just get rid of all your stuff before you come in. So what I've had is some clients who come in and I tell them, I say, get rid of all your cigarettes, get rid of all your ashtrays, get rid of all your lighters. And they don't. And they keep an emergency pack. This is a few of them. And they'll tell me they're doing so great and they hadn't smoked in a week or 2 weeks and they got stressed out for 1 second. And they went because they had an emergency pack hidden up in the closet. They grabbed it. And what happens is...
You always know it's there, too.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You're not going to forget that you happen to have 2 cigarettes in the back of the junk drawer and a lighter in there. Like, you're not going to forget that.
And so there's no point. If you've made up your mind that you're going to quit, you don't need an emergency pack. It's like, look, you might get stressed out, but you're not going to die if you can't get a cigarette. And so people have to make that. You have to take the responsibility, first and foremost, and you have to be honest with yourself. If you don't do those things, hypnosis can't do anything for you at all. But if you do take responsibility and you're honest with yourself, it'll make it a heck of a lot easier for you.
And what's the percentage of success?
I don't keep stats, but I'll tell you after 2 sessions of working with people, it's probably higher than 75%. Meaning that, because...
That's so awesome.
But that's the thing. The thing that I communicate that's the most important in those sessions is what your responsibility is and what my responsibility is. My responsibility is to give you some tools that make it easier. Yours is still to be the one who says, when you do have the choice, when you do have the thought, I'm not doing it. If you don't do that, or if that hasn't been communicated, I wouldn't have any success because you're always going to have a moment. I mean, you're not going to go the rest of your life without having a temptation.
Sure.
It's having the tools and being prepared for that situation that helps you to get through it.
Because it is such a mental thing, too. And I think that Stacey would probably say this, or anybody who's struggled with quitting smoking would say this, is like, it's not necessarily the physical, because it's after what, like a week or 2 weeks that the physical addiction is completely gone. Well, but I mean, I have a friend right now who is, I don't know how far along, really maybe like 4 or 5 months pregnant. And so she obviously stopped before she started trying. She stopped smoking and all that kind of stuff. And then certainly when she was pregnant, she hasn't smoked since, but she keeps having dreams about it. She keeps thinking about it.
Well, yeah, it's something that you've done for so long.
I haven't had a cigarette in, she's like 6 months, but I'm still thinking about it all the time.
Well, for people who think that it's physical, here's what my experience is. I've had clients who've been smokers for 25, 30, 35 years, smoking a pack and a half or a carton a week, quit with hypnosis, didn't have any cravings at all.
Wow.
Okay? Now, that's not everyone, but that's some of them.
Right.
And if it can happen for someone, that means that the physical part of it is very, very small. And once you stop thinking about it, once the stress isn't an issue, it's not that hard.
Right.